Starvation, oppression, persecution. Those are the things that I would use to describe the current conditions in Cuba. There was extreme starvation and poverty. In the place that I grew up in, the government was God. But the best day of my life was the day that I came to this country with only $5 to my name. The journey to standing in front of you wasn't pretty or glamorous, but it is my own. My name is Grecia Cabrera, and I live in Kansas City, Missouri. I was born in Cuba, and I lived there until I was 11 years of age. Cuba is a communist country, and it's a very difficult country to survive in. There's no private sector, there's no opportunity for people to open businesses, to develop, to buy and sell freely. So we're lacking basic necessities on a daily basis. And there were days where I would cry myself to sleep because I was hungry, and my parents, I could tell they were desperate. Sometimes my dad would just end up making us lemonade with baking soda just to keep us going. The god was Fidel Castro and the religion was communism. My father was accused of rebellion against the government. They never finished the trial and they just sentenced him to 20 years of prison. They put him in with some of the worst murderers. Sometimes they would get sent to kill him. My dad was one of those prisoners. The condition of his freedom was that he leave the country immediately. When we left Cuba, we didn't have anything of real value. This is all the money we had for all 5 of us as we were leaving. All we had was the clothes we were wearing and $5. Stepping out of the airport, one of the first things that I noticed was there was electricity everywhere. And I thought that was just amazing because I came from a place where we barely had street lights, we barely had electricity, and just having running water was a luxury. After we arrived in Kansas City, we were offered all kinds of assistance by the government. It was more than we could have ever asked for.
Esa ayuda de 8 meses en realidad la tomé un solo mes, porque me parecía algo muy malo, un poco como lo que viví en el comunismo, que hacen que todo el mundo dependa del gobierno.
When the government steps in and tells you what you can do and you cannot do, that takes away the drive from people to want to succeed because there's ceilings and limitations. Here, we have been able to take responsibility for ourselves. I feel like my family and I are living the American dream. There's many things that are happening here in the United States that are very similar to what happened in Cuba. The level of propaganda that exists in this country, the way the media is controlled, the way that the government is taking control of the education of our children, the idea that the wealthy are an enemy, that the poor should be given more welfare instead of opportunities to thrive. Those are the ideas start out as very innocent, but ultimately end in misery and destruction of the economy, as well as principles and values. I feel like we have lost sight of that as a country here in the United States. People don't understand how much they have and what's at stake, what they could lose.
You know, when you listen to the story of Grace and her father and you think about what was taken from them, those are all things that Americans for Prosperity fights for. We fight for a person's dignity. We fight for the right to speak freely, and we value the rule of law.
When I found out about Americans for Prosperity and how much their values aligned with mine, personal responsibility, individual freedom, having opportunities to thrive, I was so happy that somebody was promoting those ideas. Americans for Prosperity is training people to have their voices heard, to speak to their local offices, to their legislators. When we had the training, it was mostly with the Hispanic community in my area. And one of the things that I really appreciated after the training was seeing how empowered they felt. They didn't realize how much power they really have. And it's such a contrast to where I come from.
Grace has contributed with AFP tremendously. When you hear a story, a compelling story, and that's what connects with people. It tells us that it is possible to change, to move forward, to achieve their American dream.
For many people all over the world, this country is the hope that we look towards. The idea of individual freedom, that is something precious that should be protected.
Creo que todos los ciudadanos de esta nación hemos de cuidar y de preservar esa libertad.
Coming from Cuba, from poverty, starvation, and political imprisonment, if we can make a difference in our community, anyone can. If you want to fight for freedom and opportunity, you have to take your first step, like I did, and get involved with Americans for Prosperity today.